Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My colleague Suzanne is here, who's going to sign for us, and we're all really delighted to have you joining us through Facebook live streaming and also on our Zoom webinar. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. My name is Avril Ronan. I work for Trend Micro for the last 18 years, and my colleague Simon. The two of us are going to co-host tonight for you. I've got the Internet Safety for Kids and Families t-shirt on, flying the flag tonight, and we're delighted that you can join us. We've got a lot of exciting things coming up for you. Just to let you know about the Trend Micro Internet Safety for Kids and Families program. We've been doing this for 12 years, not just in Ireland, but all around the world, talking to parents and kids, educators everywhere, delivering that very important message about being online, being safe, and being responsible and having fun. And tonight's webinar is no different. We are going to be talking about gaming and online safety. And as parents and guardians and indeed educators, we want to be online and we want to talk about that tonight with you. And we've got not just myself and Simon, but we've got 4 more really exciting guests with us tonight that are going to join at various intervals. And we're going to talk about Roblox a little bit more in detail, about Fortnite and Call of Duty, and a little bit more as well after a panel discussion. So we hope you sit down with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or maybe something stronger, depending on what you fancy, and listen in. And if you have any questions or anything, just use the function in Zoom, or you can actually ask in the through the comments section in Facebook live stream. I have a colleague, Catherine O'Dwyer, who's moderating the Facebook live stream. And Catherine, I hope everything is going okay over there for us on the live stream. So let us know if there's anything. So welcome everybody. I'm just going to share some slides with you. Okay. Actually, I just need to check one thing to make sure people can chat, yes, and upvote and comment. Perfect. And in the Q&A as well. Okay, sorry now about that. Should have done that earlier. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so we have Suzanne spotted for the signing, and I'm just going to share my screen with you now as well. Okay, so before we begin, we have a chat and Q&A function. Okay, and you know, please use them. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions of things that work for you at home, please by all means share them with us. You know, we're parents. I'm a parent of 2 kids. Everybody here tonight, bar one, has kids, and we've all got information to share, experiences of things that worked well and not so well. But we hope everybody takes something away. This session is being recorded. So, you know, if we need to share that out afterwards, that can be done as well. And that's important for you to be aware of it. We also have a really good top tip sheet, which has everything you need to know about gaming, and that will be shared with you afterwards on internetsafety.trendmicro.com/resources. So important to know, and we will have a feedback form. So after this webinar, you will be redirected to our feedback form. If you're on Facebook, we'll just share that link out with you. But that feedback form, you're on the website, you're on internetsafety.trendmicro.com, and all our resources are there. And I'll come back to that later as well. So, okay, raising gamers. These are some of the topics we're going to be talking about tonight: Roblox, Fortnite, and Call of Duty. But I felt, you know, it's important to give, you know, as much as they're like the goal for tonight, for example, we want to explore and maximize the benefits of gaming, and we want to minimize the risks of gaming for everyone out there. And that's what we hope to achieve through this webinar. So if you look at the benefits of gaming, you know, problem solving skills, teamwork, if you've got teamwork, if you need a team in a game, you're going to be learning collaboration skills, mental rotation, hand-to-eye coordination, and it's a social place. It's a place to hang out, especially during these really difficult times, during COVID. So, to be aware of that. And some of the world's leading surgeons are gamers, believe it or not. So, of course, obviously, along with the benefits, there are risks with anything that we do online. And we need to be aware of those too. Gaming is a billion-dollar industry. And of course, we're going to be exposed to inappropriate language, content, sometimes often offensive content, and there are security risks as well. Scams and hacking of accounts and things like that, and kids being exposed and playing with people that they don't know in the real world. And that's all kind of scary stuff. But the good news is that there are things we can do to protect our kids online, yet allow them to enjoy themselves in the world of gaming. So, okay, so let's start off with Roblox. And Simon, I'm going to just be your virtual clicker tonight, and I'm going to hand it over to yourself.
Yeah, you can just click through those, Avril, please. Yeah. Guys, yeah, so good evening. Thanks for joining us. So what we're going to do tonight, so we've kind of picked 3 games which we kind of think, let's say, would kind of mirror the kind of life cycle of a gamer. So Roblox as a game is typically one which is played by younger players. So I have 2 boys, age 9 and 12. They would have both played this game. It would have been one of the first games that they played, or one of the first social games that they played. And I'll explain what that means in a moment. And just in terms of what it is, before we talk about kind of some of the safety and privacy features and so on, just in terms of what it is. So it actually started out as a kind of a physics engine. It was designed to educate and show people how they could kind of play with 3D shapes and how the 3D shapes would interact. But what the guys who built this, what they found was that people were using it more for enjoyment than for education. So you can see 2003, they created a very early version of the game called GoBlocks. They changed the name of that to Dynablocks. They didn't really feel that name was memorable. So in 2006, they launched the first version of Roblox. And I'd kind of forgotten about it since my own kids stopped playing it, but I started looking into it a couple of weeks ago when I knew we were going to do this, and it really is an absolute phenomenon. At the moment, you can see there the revenue, like Avril said, gaming is a $1 billion industry. Here you're looking at one single game, which is a $1 billion industry in itself, right? It's grown massively as online gaming has in general over the last 12 months as physical activities have been limited. You can see the number of players per month, 164 million players per month. And a lot of those, it is, as I said, it is genuinely kind of the younger players kind of who play this. You can see the age rating is 7. So PEGI is the Pan-European Gaming Information. It's a kind of a rating system. So they will look at a game and it's like an 18s movie or a PG movie or whatever, right? It's the same. It's a type of system, and they just try and attribute an age that they recommend to the game based on the content and the gameplay and so on. But interestingly, with this, when you sign up to Roblox, there is no minimum age limitation, which is quite unique. One of the key things about Roblox, you can see there 50 million user designed games. So Roblox is often referred to as the kind of YouTube of gaming, and the reason people call it that is because it's user generated content. So if your kids are playing Roblox, there is a chance that they can build their own game, and that then other kids can then play that game. So Roblox is almost a gaming platform. So there are 50 million unique games. Some are played very frequently, some are played barely at all, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. It's very unstructured play. There's all sorts of different games, but a lot of them are a kind of a world where you could wander around and do things and buy things and sell things and make friends with people. So there's the good and the bad with that. The bad is that you can potentially spend a lot of time in there. And one of the things which Roblox encourage is so there's such a thing called Roblox streaks, right? Where kids get rewarded, or any players, they get rewarded for playing every day, which is, I would think personally that there's a bit of a kind of an ethical question around doing that. but at the end of the day, they're running a business here. So they do encourage you, just be aware of that, and that comes back then obviously to kind of time management, which we'll talk about in a moment. It is free to play, and it is available on every platform. When I say every platform, like if you look at their revenue, 75% of it comes from Apple devices, so your iPads, your iPhones. So that'll give you an indication. There are a lot of mobile players, which again is kind of younger kids who maybe don't have an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever. They are playing it on mobile devices. The way they make their money is through kids buying things in the game or in the games within the Roblox platform. So and the virtual money within the game is called Robux. I think it's 400 Robux. Robux is €5. So if you spend €5 for your kid on this, they'll get 400 Robux, which they can use then in games. Yeah, lots of pop-ups. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And look, Avril mentioned this already. It's the thing about this. It's very. You can go on to the next slide, Avril. It's fine. But it's very social, and this is this is why it's for younger kids. This is one of the first social games they'll play, meaning that they can talk to their friends when they're playing. Now, when I say talk, I should say chat. There is no talk functionality. You can't hear people, but you can chat in the game. And I remember seeing my 9-year-old when he was playing this game, and I could see him, for example, chatting with some of the kids in his class. So that's what kids do, right? They're in school. What's your Roblox name? What's your Roblox name? And they swap those, and that allows them to kind of friend each other. So that's good. Again, the last 12 months, this is what kids need at the moment, is a chance to interact with their friends. So it's a very positive thing at the moment. Do you want to scroll on there, Avril? So parental controls. So what you need to do if your kids are playing this, parental controls you'll find parental controls in every device, in every game. I'll show you a couple of screenshots in a moment. The recommendation, we're not going to be able to go through every single kind of setting in all of these games this evening. The recommendation is simply to go out there and educate yourself. If you Google Roblox parental settings or safety settings or privacy settings, you'll find numerous instruction videos and documents on how to do this. But I'll show you a couple of screenshots in a moment. You need to communicate with your kids, explain to them. So if they see offensive language, or just something they don't like, they can report players, they can block players. That's the easiest thing to do, because that will prevent any of that happening again. On a communication piece, talk to them about who they can play with, and ideally that should be people they know, right? It needs to be their friends, and this can be controlled through the settings as well, which is very important. Avril mentioned kind of security and scams. One of the things you need to be aware of in Roblox, there are a lot of scams in there because it's user-generated content. So just talk to your kids about that. If they see something they're not sure what it is, come and ask you. That's certainly what we do at home. It's rather than trying to teach the kids this is good, this is bad, especially if they're younger, get them to come to you and ask you. And if you don't know, again, you just have to go and educate yourself about it. But simple things like, if it is a scam, users are going to be asked for their usernames and passwords. They're going to be asked to disable multi-factor authentication. They're going to be asked to kind of spend money and buy Robux. So those type of things, they are more than likely they are scams. So just to be aware of those. Time limits, very important. You can set time limits through devices. If your kids are playing on iOS, Apple devices, Android devices, you can use the built-in functions to set time limits. All consoles have kind of parental controls, time limits built into them now. Or else, if you're not going to use the native controls, just you have to have a discussion about it and set those limits yourselves, and use kind of old-fashioned traditional parenting, let's say. Keeping devices outside the bedroom, as in keeping them in a public area, I think is a very important point, certainly for younger kids. As kids get older into their teens, kind of late teens, that's probably going to be more difficult as they spend more time in their rooms. But for younger kids who are likely to be playing this, having it out in the open just allows you to kind of keep an eye on it, see what's happening here, what's happening. It doesn't mean you have to stand there looking over their shoulder all the time, but you're close enough to it to kind of keep an eye on it. Don't overact to negative press. If you start Googling, Roblox and parental settings and safety, I guarantee that the bad news will float up to the top. There have been some bad news stories. I'm not going to go into it now, but what I would say is they are fairly isolated, and they do a pretty good job of dealing with this stuff fairly quickly. It's like any platform. It's like YouTube. It's, if there's user generated content, you're going to run into things which you don't potentially want to see, which then comes back to kind of parental controls and just having that discussion with your kids. And look, join in, stay involved as much as you can, as much as you can tolerate. I'm not a gamer, but it's always kind of, get involved and just see what your kids are doing and help them to understand it. This is just a couple of screenshots. You can run through those, Avril. This is from a mobile device, which is running Roblox. It's kind of divided into two. You can see security settings. That's around things like multi-factor authentication. That might sound very complicated. Multi-factor authentication it's the same thing you use with your banking online, for example. So when you log in, you might get a text message with a code sent to your phone, something like that. Set that up. Use strong passwords. If you don't want to be remembering the passwords, write them down on a piece of paper. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. And then I think even more importantly, if you look at the last piece there, the privacy settings, you can see who can message me, who can chat with me in the app, who can chat with me. You've got different options there. Friends is definitely the one to go with, because it limits, you're not going to have somebody your child doesn't know reaching out to you. Now, but you still have to talk to them about that. You don't want them just accepting friend requests from people they know. So you're going to have to manage that a bit, get them to talk to their friends. We'd certainly, texting their mom or dad, can you give us your kids' username so our kid can connect with you. So those are the things you can kind of do to kind of work around that. So that's Roblox in 10 or so minutes. I don't know, Avril, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
All the things you were going through there, I was thinking, gosh, yeah, like the last one there you said about checking in with other parents. I think there's never a truer word said. If your kids are playing with other kids, check in with those kids' parents and agree rules with them so that you're consistent then with your kids. It makes life a lot easier. And I can't recommend it enough. Multi-factor authentication, kids' accounts are always being hacked. So I would absolutely look, we have it on our bank accounts. You get a password to your text number, a text or email. It's the same with gaming. If your kids are gaming, set up that multi-factor. As Simon said, it's really, really important, and it's very easy to do. And you're right, my daughter, Roblox is pretty much her first game, Minecraft and Roblox. She does use Skype as well to chat to her friends, to talk to them while she's playing it. She wants Discord. I'm kind of holding off on that. And Streaks and Adopt Me. Oh my gosh, every day Roblox pulls her back in again to get her streaks. But she's so creative and she loves building games. So she takes out the turnip of a laptop that we have at home. It's an absolute 10-year-old turnip. And she's plugging it in and she's trying to figure out how to make games. And then she goes to YouTube. So, that's creative. That's using initiative. That's trying to learn. And we have to encourage that kind of stuff, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
She also came into the kitchen one day to me and she said, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I've been working so hard." She was delivering pizzas all around the game and she earned cash for it. And then she said, "I've earned a lot of cash though. So you can earn money in games in Roblox." But what she was saying was, I said, "What are you going to buy?" And she said, "Oh, I need a shower because there's all these flies swarming around me. So do you know how much a shower costs? It's so expensive." So, she's learning the value of money. She knows she has to work hard for it. She does ask me for Robux a lot, but we limit it to a certain amount every now and again. So it's about being aware of that kind of stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think, we were talking last week, Simon, and research. The last two slides, everyone, that you've seen there, that's like, who are Roblox? Where do they come from? How much are they worth? How many players do they have? What's it about? Why is it so fun? Why are kids on it? This is the research, isn't it, that we need to kind of really be.
Yeah, it's always the first step, I think, certainly that we would do over the last few years when the kids come and say, "Look, here's a new game. I'd like to play it. I'd like to download the app." The first thing we would do is research it. But as I said, just watch out. The bad press will kind of float to the top. But to dig a bit deeper, understand what it is. What are the potential risks about it? Are there settings? It's very, very rare that you're going to come across any type of game or communications app. You mentioned things like Snapchat there. They've all got settings. It's just researching them and understanding them, and actually taking the time to kind of set them up as they should be done. It's absolutely fundamental.
And settings. You gave screenshots there, and something that I was thinking about. I'm in the office again tonight. Can't count on the Wi-Fi at home. But I was thinking, if I was to go to a school tonight somewhere in the country, in the city or county, or you, Simon, there's no way we'd have 4 gamers lined up beside us on the call to talk about gaming and have internet access to be able to show parents, and that parents can sit in the comfort of their own home having a cup of tea by the fire or wherever they are and be able to listen to this. So it's great. But settings, yes, and play. That's a big one, isn't it? You might the picture there in the middle of the dad and the little girl, or it could be an uncle.
Yeah, join in, right?
Get involved. It's the only way
Get
you're going to
involved. Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And Simon, this one is for you. You said during the week when we were preparing for tonight that there's always someone else going to be better than you in gaming. How do you deal with that with your kids?
How do I deal with that with kids? So yeah, that's absolutely fundamental. So I guess it depends on the age. It's so again, my kids are 9 and 12. Um, I think having them play in an open space is absolutely fundamental, because, as I mentioned, it kind of gives you visibility into what's happening. You can hear what's happening, and that's obviously easier for younger kids. So that's what we listen out for. You can tell very quickly, especially with our older boy, if things are getting a little out of hand. The volume is being raised, language might change. We've both gone up to see him some days, and he's been in tears. We've seen him in tears once or twice. So kids can get very frustrated with this, but the only way to deal with that's there's no parental control settings for that. It's simply parental control, right? So you just need to be able to keep an eye on it, and when it happens, we've no problem going up to them and saying, right, come on, you need to come off. You need to do it in the right way. You need to do it gently. You need to show empathy, understanding, but when it gets to that stage, I think it's enough is enough. And what I often find is, if you take them out of that situation, give them a little bit of time, some days he'll just sit down, some days he'll go off into his room, but give him a few minutes and he'll calm down and he'll come back around, and you can probably talk about it then, what happened, okay, and go back to it or not, sometimes, as the case is. But it's, yeah, as I said, it's just that's just being a parent, right? And seeing it happen and just dealing with it, as you would any other your child getting mad about anything else.
And not having devices in the bedroom means you can see them and gauge
exactly
what the tempo is like. And
exactly.
if there's one thing my mother's always said, it's your own kids, and when there's something going down.
Indeed.
Simon, thanks a million.
It's okay.
I think, who have we got next, Simon? We have Declan.
Michelle.
Declan McGibney.
You can hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
That was great, Simon. I learned a lot from your slides. Actually, it's a very hard act to follow. Put me under a bit of pressure here. So I'm going to talk about Fortnite, which is a hugely popular game again, like Roblox. I'll just talk about myself for a second. My name is Declan, and I am a father of 5, and 4 of them are gaming. And I have only myself to blame, because I play a lot of games with them. Mainly Minecraft is my poison. I spend a lot of hours playing Minecraft with them, and we build worlds together, and it's a lot like Roblox in a way that it's kind of like Lego and so on. But anyway, Fortnite is a free-to-play battle royale, over-the-shoulder squad-based shooter, which sounds very complicated. It also has elements of building and a lot of inventory management that kind of make it a tactical game. But probably the most important thing about Fortnite is that it's a cultural phenomenon. So everybody knows about Fortnite. Fortnite is one of the most popular games in the world, with 6 million players online at any time, and it has an age rating of about 12. So it's that sort of pre-teen, teenage sort of age rating that it targets. The game developer is Epic Games, and basically what they've done is they've brought together elements from other games that were already well established. The first element is the gameplay style. So in Fortnite, you're looking over someone's shoulder and you have to shoot other players. And the objective is to survive to the end of the match, either as a part of a team of 4 or squad, or as an individual against 100 players in total in this match. So it's a battle royale. You have to eliminate everybody else as the last person standing. It takes place on an island, and you get to decide where you start by parachuting directly to that location at the start of the game. So there's elements of exploration, and then as the game progresses, people are forced into closer and closer proximity with each other through to there's like this storm that's coming in, and they have to avoid it. So the way that they're all spread out for a lot of the game allows kind of a casual game style, where the focus is more it's more on exploration and collecting items and looting stuff and managing their inventory. I watched my son play this, and 80% of the time he's just searching for items before he actually shoots anybody. He might shoot 3 people in the game, and the game is over, and he'll start a new one. And then this casual side then is further amplified by other elements of Fortnite. So there's the skins, emotes, and team chat. So I'll explain what those are. The skins are basically characters and weapons that the player can purchase or earn through extensive play time and leveling up their character. Even though the game is free to play, many of the skins can only be bought. So that's kind of where they catch them out. That's where they make their money. And the skins will often have movie tie-ins like all the Marvel superheroes, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, different versions of Iron Man, Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and even the Terminator series has started to make an appearance lately. And unlike other games, then the weapons in Fortnite, generally, they don't give people an advantage. It's literally just kind of showing off, oh, look at this thing that I got. And they might have had to grind to get that. And it kind of avoids a pay-to-win mentality that plagues a lot of other maybe mobile games. There's things like a battle pass then that could be purchased, which kind of reduces the amount of grinding that or leveling up that somebody has to do to unlock these skins. So you can pay to unlock the skins. Again, they're cosmetic features, but so they the difficulty that somebody might have when they're trying to grind, if they're getting frustrated with that, if they can pay to overcome that. Let me put it another way. There's actually there's an objective every season. So the seasons are roughly like 4 months, they're like our seasons. And at the end of every season, everybody's level gets set back to 0. And your objective is to try and reach at least level 100 before the end of that season. So as that end of the season starts to come in, people are kind of pressured then into how am I going to get those extra levels, and then they can buy levels to get up to that last part. And then in addition to this, there's promotions and there's bundles that entice you to spend more. They often end with live events as well, those seasons, which get a lot of attention in news outlets and with their friends. The other social element then I was talking about were emotes, or they're basically dance moves that the characters do in the game. So we all know the swish, which is was quite popular. It seemed to be everywhere there at one stage. And there's lots of other dance moves that you might see on TV or on YouTube. And kids can pick up these moves from seeing them in game, and then they practice them. So that's a good thing, right? I mean, it gets them moving. The teamwork and team chat then are a massive part of the experience. So like I was saying, people are in a squad of 4. And like Roblox, like Simon was talking about Roblox, Fortnite is a social space, really. At its kernel, it's a social space, and it's a place for kids to hang out with their friends. They can hang out with strangers as well, but because Fortnite is so popular, it's usually easy for someone to find their friends, their actual real life friends from school playing the game. And you can go on to the next slide, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get fired. Sorry about that, Declan.
No, you're fine.
You covered all those.
I did, didn't I? High gaming does not require dance moves are well known around the world. There's a couple more bullet points I think come down.
Are you going to do a dance move for us?
No, I am not.
Okay, sorry. No, sorry.
I could probably call in my son. He'd definitely do it just for the skit. The popularity of the game is by default. So the privacy controls in Fortnite are quite open by default, and invites can come from random strangers in the game by default. So you want to go look for the privacy settings. They're usually easy enough to find, and they have plenty of features to restrict purchases. Somebody asked on the Q&A there, is there any way to stop kids from disabling settings that you might have set? So the parental controls in Fortnite can actually be locked with a password. You can lock it, and then they can't do, and it's not just purchases you can restrict. You can restrict if they can use private or open. Actually, I'll have to double check that, but I think you can restrict if it's private or open to the public. Their parties, the people that they game with, that they talk to in game with the headset.
Will I go on to this? This?
I have a couple more things, but yeah, it's basically you're looking for those 3 bars for the settings, and I think this is on PC, and then you'll find so exactly for you can report misconduct in the game, either for opponents in the game that may be cheating or people in your squad that are being abusive, and those options are very prominent and they're easy to find for players of any age. They're usually pretty aware of it. It's not something that is hidden. Epic wants their game to be good and self-moderated, and it's not just a huge cash cow for them to milk. They've made it a good product because they're trying to increase their market share using this game. They're trying to pull people away from Steam, which is a popular game distribution platform on PC, from Epic Games. They're not going to make it a difficult thing to use.
And they do, just on that point, Declan. I've seen, I know a friend just told me a story about her son, and her son is 12, and her son's friend reported her son for using, I don't know, some bad language, and as you said, they act upon it, right? So that's the whole point about it being self-moderated, because his friend, and he was only kind of joking, so I don't know what exactly he said, but his friend reported him, and he got like, I don't know, he got some type of, he got banned, or he got something for a couple of days. He wasn't allowed to play, or wasn't allowed to connect with a friend or talk to the friend. So they do act on that stuff,
Yeah, even if it was just that they were blocked from connecting on the game.
Yeah.
And that would happen even if you were a monthly subscriber and you were paying, it would still happen. They wouldn't, if you're reported, you're reported, and if it's legitimate, they will do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The art style in the game, it's very cartoonish. The best way to describe it, it's like everyone has Nerf guns in it. There's no blood, and even when someone is killed in the game, they're scanned out, so it's like they're in a simulation, if you want to put it like that. And there's no drug or sex references or anything like that. So it's very much preteen. It's just Nerf guns is the way I would describe it.
It's very clever, also the seasonal motivation, isn't it, to pull them in? It's kind of like the streaks of Roblox. It's like that's the carrot and stick to get them keep coming back.
Yeah, and it's like, my reaction to it at first is like, I was very cynical, and I could see all the things that they were doing, but because it's a free-to-play game, they have to make their money somewhere. But as I watched him, he was getting a lot out of it, and I said, do you know what? He doesn't spend a huge amount of money on it. He spends a little bit every now and again. If he was buying a full price game for a PS5, they're €70. I don't think he spent €70 in 2 years of playing Fortnite, and he's gotten a huge amount of enjoyment out of it.
I see the same, actually. I think that certainly my 12-year-old, initially he was kind of wanted to spend a bit more, but same as you now, that's all kind of dropped off, and as you said, he's getting a lot of enjoyment. He gets to chat with his friends, gets to play with his friends, which at the moment that's one of the few channels he can do it on.
So you have to balance the spending with the spending of time, the spending of money and the spending of time. That's kind of what they do. They'll make things harder to get. You have to spend more time, or you can spend some money to get the thing that you want. But it's not over the top, I don't think, not in Fortnite anyway.
Yeah.
And
Declan, we have a question here from a lady. Are age restrictions on games generally correct? I have an 8-year-old, and chatting to his friends' parents, they all play Fortnite and say it's okay. Now, you mentioned the PEGI rating earlier in your slides.
Yeah,
PEGI is the Pan-European Gaming Information. That's like the recommended age for games.
You know what I was watching last night, and I was watching the kids were watching Despicable Me 2. I don't know what the age rating on that. It's going to be something like U or Universal,
PG
whatever, or PG.
PG
I don't even
probably,
think it's not going to even be PG. But there's a sequence at the end of it where all the minions are firing red goo from like a helicopter minigun type scenario. And I was like, this is like cheating. They're basically putting blood on screen, but they're pretending, it's jam, and age ratings, I mean, generally speaking, they are right, but you have to judge for yourself. 12 is kind of the PG thing, and what PG means is parental guidance. Go have a look at it, decide for yourself, maybe.
What I'd say to that, so just from my own experience, so what that lady's asking, she's saying she's an 8-year-old tell you, my son he started playing this kind of when lockdown in Ireland kicked in. I'd say he started playing at the beginning of last summer, and so he would have been 8.5, 8 3/4 then. So he started playing when he was 8. Again, we'd seen our older son play it. We looked at it. We felt it was appropriate. It enables them as brothers to play together, and he still plays it today, and we haven't had any issues with it.
I guess
so that's my own experience with it anyway.
Yeah,
The thing about it is maybe not so much the content, but just the exposure to the social space, and the fact that the random strangers by default it's very open. You have to lock it down and try and.
But that's absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, and I guess it comes back to your own child, and for me as well at home, like look at movies. Stranger Things is 15. My kids, they're not 15, but I watched it with them. They're over 10. But I know what they're like. I know my own kids, and I sat and watched it with them, and they were okay with it. If I thought after the first episode it was too much, I would have cut it off. And it's the same with gaming. Now, gaming have recommended ages, just like you shouldn't be showing an over 18s to someone under. But at the same time, I think the 10-year-olds want to watch the over 12-year-old movies. The same with games. The 12-year-olds want to watch the 15s.
Yeah.
And when you get to 15, you want to be way over 18s. You want to be doing the whatever's over 18s. So your own kids, and it's about what we said here. Research, do your homework, checking in with other parents, talking to them about it, looking at the settings and the safety settings like Declan has gone through, play with them to get to know it, and talk to them. And I'm not so sure every kid in the country washes dishes these days, but it could be in the back seat of the car when you're driving, or they're in bed at night, or it's the most unplanned times when it all comes out. But just checking in with your kids regularly, them, if there's something going on, and just making sure that they feel they can always talk to you. Because as I've always said in the past, that when the talking stops, that's when problems can really start for kids. And it's the last thing as a parent any of us want. So the conversation, the relationship is key at all times. And I said this, we said this, Simon, in the last webinar, Trend Micro, where it's been around for over 32 years, leading cloud security company. And when it comes to our internet safety for kids and families program, our number one piece of advice is the relationship you have with your child, because they'll grow out of settings and parental controls. And you want them to make responsible decisions for themselves when we're not around. That's ultimately where you want them to.
Yeah, they have to internalize it, right? And even not when they get old, but the problem with with parental controls and controls on your router and everything else is, what happens when your child is in someone else's house, or they're outside that wall of controls you've maybe put around them. So that's, as you said, it's back to they have to internalize this. They have to understand the risks and how to deal with them, because then once the controls are inside them, that's you're just kind of setting them up for life, right? It makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely, it's a life
but
skill.
it's hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy. And
no.
Declan, you said to us, parents, we need to face our fears when it comes to gaming or whatever it is we're worried about with our kids online. And that's so true. I think there's a reason why I myself have put things off with my child for a while. It's time. I just don't have the time to sit down, because I know it's going to take 2 hours to do the research, to go through the settings, to sit down and talk to her, and then to just download it and do it. And it's time, and it's time well spent, because I see how creative they are. So, it's about taking the time out and throwing yourself into it and face your own fears and get to understand why they love it so much,
And maybe if I could just say just there before you were talking about it, kids crave attention from their parents, and playing games with them. Like my son will just as easily, he'll play a game of chess with me as he will play Minecraft, and nothing activates them more than playing a game with their parents. And all your research is at your fingertips then when you do that.
It's online, isn't it? Yeah, that is so true, Declan. It's you're so right. They do crave our attention. And we're all at home now more often. So if we make it a priority, we can get more done with them, and something that they love and they can teach us too. Declan, thank you so much for your honesty as well. Really appreciate it. And my hat off to you with 5 kids. That is serious, respect there. Thanks, Declan. Thanks, Declan. We have our next speaker coming along. How long have you been working with Trend now, Callum? Oh, you're mute. There you go.
Well, so I'm here luckily with Trent a month now.
Imagine
Um,
that, guys.
yeah.
A month. Callum is one of our fabulous new interns that's working with Trend Micro for the next 10 months, and we're absolutely delighted to have him. And I've got the best job in the world because I get to meet the coolest people on the planet through the Internet Safety Programme. Callum volunteered, imagine, he wasn't a wet week in the company, and he volunteered his time, and geez, within 2 weeks I'd say he was sorry, because look at him, he's on a live webinar talking about Call of Duty already. So Callum, talk to us. I'm going to just hit this here and put these up for you, and you just start talking there.
Yeah, so just a brief introduction to myself. I'm, I suppose, the odd one out here. I'm the only one without kids. So I'm 21, but I've been basically gaming majority of my life. For example, like my first games console was the PlayStation 2. And with regards to Call of Duty, I started playing this back in 2010, where my first game was Modern Warfare 2. But so the Call of Duty franchise, it's fairly big today. It's been founded by Activision in 2003, and they've released several titles to date. So they have 18 main titles, and this or last year just released their latest title is Call of Duty Cold War. And as you can see from the stat, it's a very popular game. So across all their titles, they have 111 million monthly active users, and that was reported back in November last year. And they also make a lot of revenue off their games. So with the monetization of like battle passes and cosmetics, last year alone across all their games, skins, battle passes, extra content, they made $3 billion in 2020. So the Call of Duty games, they are quite mature and have like violence and different, maybe considered inappropriate scenes, which is why it's rated 18 under the PEGI rating system. So for example, there's lots, the main draw to the game is multiplayer. So regular multiplayer games, like regular game modes, usually last 10 minutes. So there is a time limit to each game. So it can be useful when trying to say, monitoring your kids and monitoring how long they're on a game. So you can maybe say, okay, so 3 more games or so. But with the new Warzone game mode, which is similar to what Declan was talking about with Fortnite, it's a battle royale, which is basically a last person standing game mode. These games do take a bit longer. So, for example, with Warzone, they last about 30 minutes. So with the multiplayer as well, they offer chat features. So you can talk to people in your squad or your team through voice, or you can even use text chat if you're not so comfortable using your own voice through a microphone. And again, these games do contain strong language and lots of violence and oftentimes drugs and whatnot. But the main objective of these games is to kill enemies on your other team and work towards an objective. Yeah. So would you be able to click on there, Avril? Yeah,
Want me to go on
and
to the next
so
slide? Okay.
I suppose the main draw to the game as well is what everyone loves is that it's fast paced. It requires kind of a lot of reaction time and gets the adrenaline going. Oh, sorry, my internet. Yeah, so the game's very fast paced and it gets the adrenaline going. But it's also fun playing with friends, even competing against them in multiplayer, seeing who can do better. But it also builds social skills when you're working together as a team. Your communication, trying to figure out a problem together, and you're all working towards through a progression system as well. So like in Fortnite, you can level up through levels to maybe get new guns or cosmetics to maybe have your character look cooler or have better guns. And I suppose the best thing about Call of Duty is that it's easy to pick up. you're kind of just running around a map with your guns. There's no real strategic side to it. So you're just running around and shooting. It's a nice game to kind of sit back and just relax. So now with the privacy settings of Call of Duty, of course, the graphic content isn't for everyone, even if you're over 18. So they do provide you with an option for turning off this graphic content, which you can find in the settings. So for example, you can turn off dismemberment or gore, blood, bad languages, drugs, etc. Especially if you have younger kids playing it and you don't want them exposed to that kind of stuff. There is, like I said, the chat feature is available in multiplayer. Not everyone wants to be talking to people online. There can be a lot of people who are out to annoy or antagonize you. So it's just as easy in the settings to turn off voice chat or text chat to avoid all this. And even you do the very rare time come across inappropriate or toxic players. So my best advice for these people is to just mute them. It's like they're not even there and you don't have to listen to them. And you can take it a step further and report them. And Activision have a dedicated team who investigate these different situations. Call of Duty also actually has a in-game currency like Fortnite and Roblox, where you can buy different skins, battle passes, cosmetics, and this in-game currency is called COD points. My best advice for this would be to buy it from authorized sellers, because you might see the odd time if you look this up on the internet, special sales or 50% off somewhere. These can't always be trusted, unfortunately, because these could be illegitimate websites, maybe attempted scams where they're trying to take your details and you mightn't actually receive your product. So your best bet is to stick with the authorized sellers if you do opt to buy these points. And then the best thing, I suppose, as well with multiplayer is that you can play with your friends. You can play the game how you like, whatever mode you like. And I suppose the more friends you play with, the less strangers you can also play with. So it's more of a closed circle and a safety net. So here is a screenshot example of the multiplayer menu in Call of Duty. As I suppose a general rule of thumb with most games, to access the settings menu, you press the pause button. So in the bottom left corner of this screenshot, you can see the pause button on PlayStation is the options button on the controller. Or even with PC, it would be the escape key. And once you get into this menu, we have several different tabs across the top. You can go to the general tab, which is the second one in, and down through the list, they have an area which you can use for content filters. So for example, in games, people can type into chat and post chat into your games. You can have this enabled or disabled. I leave it enabled personally because a lot of teammates might give call outs in the game or tell you where enemies are. But what I do recommend keeping on is the profanity filter. So you do get the odd people who think they're funny, saying maybe horrible things that can be offensive. So Call of Duty do a good job of this, of stripping away all the bad words and any horrible things you mightn't want to see, and maybe put what's the word, a blur over the bad words so you can't see it. And then of course the last option here is the dismemberment and gore. So it's not for everyone, especially younger kids who might be playing Call of Duty. So that's also a great option that you can use.
Thank you so much, Callum. I think if we want to maximize the benefits of gaming and minimize the risks of gaming, we want to teach and enable and empower kids to develop that grit and develop resilience. And the best way to do that is when they do encounter, if they do encounter, that we're there for them. and that we help them with these things. And there's a common theme, isn't there, Simon, going through all of this, the settings, even though they look different, they don't really look different, do they? They're kind of,
No.
they're there somewhere, you just have
The
to find
foundation
them.
is the same in all of them, but look, I
Yeah.
think, as Callum mentioned, this you know, for something like this is very much for the more kind of mature kids.
Absolutely.
And you got to remember, at the end of the day, it has an 18 rating for a very good reason, as you've seen. So it's the same. Are you going to let your kid watch an 18s movie? Are you going to let them play an 18 game?
Are you going to give them TikTok, even though it's,
exactly,
there's a minimum age there, and they could be a lot younger than that? So, we're not skirting around it. We're calling it out for what it is, and we're going through it, because being informed is knowledge. Knowledge is power, and it means you can safeguard your kids even more and allow them to have fun online in a safe way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to actually stop the slide share so that the audience can see all of us together, right? As you can see, Raising Gamers is what we're all about tonight. If I can just stop the share, and I'm going to...
There's just when you're doing that, Arvel, there's a question in here just about Among Us, which I've heard a bit about. Does anyone... So the question is there anything in particular to be aware of about Among Us?
I was going to actually mention Among Us. My daughter is playing that too, and she said, "Mom, anytime I put in words, you can't say naughty words because they're blocked out." So just like what Callum was saying with Call of Duty, it's the same in Roblox. You can't do it.
Yeah, Roblox little hashtags appear if you try to type in bad words and stuff. Yeah.
And she sets up her own little servers. She bought, you can buy your own server in Roblox for like $10, and you have it for a month. And then she has all her friends coming in, and they're all just in a secluded private little server. And it's the same with Among Us. You just create the game, you get a code, you share it with your friends, and they all join, and it's just you playing on Among Us.
So that's even more controlled than a lot of this. Unless you have that code. So unless your son or daughter, if they want to play with their friends, they need to have that code. So that's actually a good thing, right?
Absolutely. Now, you see us all, everyone. These are all the people behind the scenes. There is one other person, Catherine, but she's in the kitchen at home, and she said not to put her on video, so she's going to kill me for saying that. But she's looking after Facebook. And we have 2 people from Kerry here. We have 2 people from Waterford. Kelly, are you German, Scottish, Cork?
No, originally German.
German. So look, you're a paddy at heart. And then Dutch, we have Ruby. Yeah. Ruby is half Cork, half Dutch, or maybe it's more Cork now at this stage. But we've only got about 7 minutes left, and I'm conscious of Suzanne. I'm trying to keep speaking slowly, but I'm not doing a very good job of it, am I? I have a question for you, Ruby, first, right?
Yeah.
Tell us. We want to talk here about toxicity and grief in gaming. You told us last week about your experiences as a kid. You were gaming from a young age. Can you tell us about why you started gaming and what kind of happened for you at a young age, and what did you do about it?
Yeah, so the thing is, for me, when I started the gaming, it was like, sounds really old, but it was back in the end of the 80s. So 88, 87, I started it with Atari or like a Commodore 64. I don't know if the people know, but it was like the beginning of the time back almost with the gaming, with floppies and tape cassettes that you had to run a game and to load and press a button here, press a button there. That was actually, for me, it was no harmful games. It was just actually a good time killer. Sometimes I wasn't allowed to play full days, of course, because my mom, she didn't believe in this kind of stuff, of course, She was from the older generation. But I started to like it. It was simple games like Super Mario, back then like River Raid. That was one of them. Boulder Dash or Pac-Man. It was just friendly games. Later on, over the years, I became actually like in the 90s, something like that. Nintendo became more popular. For example, like Super Nintendo. Before that, it was the normal Nintendo version. But then the games were coming like as well, Super Mario again, but also Street Fighter fighting games. It was like a new thing. Arcade games, they call it right now. I started to love that kind of type of games. Not that I loved the violence of it, but it was just challenging for myself. And it was like more being into the game, actually. I was getting more sucked into it. After that, after the Super Nintendo, actually, I moved over to the PlayStation 1. PlayStation was actually such a booming thing for me. It was so realistic with everything, with the games, the shooting games. I love the racing games over there. But I noticed as well that during when I was playing those games, that my my lack of concentration was going back, of concentration in my daily life, because I noticed as well that the fighting games, I was getting annoyed if I was losing a game. I was starting to grip the controller really hard, and wanted to crush it, actually, that type of feeling. And sometimes when I lost a game, that I start thrown to with the controller. Like back then, when you were playing a game, I was playing on my room, like we didn't have like that you could play in the living room or whatsoever, or there was a special room that you could just break out, and I was just on my own room. Or even some friends of mine, they were playing in the shed, that they had their own play shed outside. But at that stage, I started to develop as a different person as I was, actually, as I'm not right now as well, because I was really positive. I was always friendly. And yeah, I started to notice that I was just getting really into myself, and I started to be short with my words. I started to be rude to my mother, and yeah, I don't have time or whatsoever, just leave me alone, and those kind of things. And at one stage, I just started to lose grip on myself. And when you're that young, yeah, we're talking about 12, 14 years old, you can't still express your feelings that young. Yeah, you weren't an adult. You weren't like these days. That's completely different. There are special people that can help you out. Those kind of things. But when I started the game, it was completely different, though. So I didn't know what to do with it, and it was getting from bad to worse. School as well. My grades were going down, and yeah, it was completely bad. One stage, my mother, she noticed that as well, and she started to actually to help me with this together with the school. And long story short, and one stage for me, I started to see as well from, what, I needed to talk about it. I needed to do something about it, because I couldn't live like this any further. Like when I was gaming, it was like not online games, you see. I came back, I stopped actually gaming around 94, 95-ish, something like that. And then in 2006, I came back because there was big promotions everywhere, PlayStation 3, online gaming, Call of Duty. Oh my God, I love the FPS. FPS, Avril, what you know, that was a
First
brain
person
cracker for you.
shooting.
Very good, well done, well done. That was a complete like mind blowing of like.
So Ruby, tell me
changing,
this,
yeah.
right? That was a huge decision for you to make at that age. I mean, I can't imagine a lot of kids being able to make that call themselves, but maybe your mom might have helped you. Knowing what you know now about what you went through back then, about emotional regulation, and at that age, it's so hard. What advice would you give to parents out there that are struggling with kids being online and gaming, and that level of toxicity? They could be getting a lot of grief in a game, finding it hard to pull away. What advice would you have?
As you were saying as well, you know your child better than somebody else. So keep an eye on them. Exactly what you guys said before as well during these calls. Check in on them regularly, even if it's a chat about the game. Hey, how's it going? Did you make any points, or did you make any new friends whatsoever? Because at that stage you can already, exactly. At that stage you can already check in with them to see how their personalities are, behavior is actually. If they talk friendly or whatsoever, and if they start, all right, just leave me alone. It's like, because then they're so sucked into the game. That is already a sign of depression is not really the word, but being stressed out during the game. The game should be relaxing. It should be, little bit your downtime.
And it kind of goes back to what Simon was saying earlier about, just bringing them away, keeping an eye on them, and bring them away, and that's key. That you're not ripping it out of their hands. It's they've got that dopamine going on in their brains, and they're really enjoying it. Ruby, thank you so much. Thank you, Vail. I'm learning my Dutch now as well.
Keep in mind your credit card as well. Never put your credit card into the game app of Game Store.
Okay, and if you do, make sure it's locked, that your password secured, and you do not share your password. Okay, that's very important. Thanks, Ruby. Callie, last but certainly not least, we wanted to ask you, you're a gamer at heart, a trender by day, a gamer by heart, and you're raising gamers as well. Tell us what's working for you with your kids at home, for all the parents out there that may be struggling, or just trying to get to grips with it themselves.
I guess what works for me very well. I'm lucky that the kids that I have, they're 6 and 8 at the moment, so they're not asking for much for gaming. So basically, we can easily settle on what games they're allowed to play at that age at least. So, for example, Fortnite is out, but Minecraft is in. I'm also lucky that they play Minecraft in something that is very creative. I don't allow any internet on the device that they're using, so they have a Nintendo Switch that they share, and they can't access the internet from that. And I do the same thing as Simon mentioned, is when they play in the sitting room where I can observe, like exactly like you said, I'm not watching over the shoulders, but in passing you see it, how they're getting on, how they progress. Also, they often play together, the two brothers, and of course, there's often fighting with that. But I see when they're starting to get frustrated, when they're doing the same thing over and over and over again, they can't pull away. And this is something that I recognize from myself. So in gaming, I have the very same, like there's kind of like you made 5 levels, 10 levels of something, then there's a boss you want to beat him before you go to bed, but doesn't really seem to happen. So you're sitting there at 1 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock at night, doing the same thing still over and over again.
Yeah.
So I see that with them as well. So I have to try to pull them away from the device as such.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
the struggle is real, Kelly. The struggle is real for us everywhere. That's what I should probably have on my t-shirt. The struggle is real.
I guess with gaming with the kids, I think the biggest discussions that I have with them is the amount of time. So to pull them away from the device, that is the biggest struggle I have with that.
Yeah. On that note, Kelly, we're going to wrap up because I need to check in first. Suzanne, are you okay? Are you okay? We're wrapping up now, right? Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to just share just a couple of slides to wrap up with everybody. Guys, thank you so much for all your time today and in the preparation and the run up to today's webinar as well. I really appreciate it. I think this slide, we talked about it, Simon, 2 weeks ago. Your kids and gaming, sports, sleeping, meals, exercise, ask them to build out what 24 hours looks like to them. They can't game for 24 hours. You know, they have to sleep, eat, they have to do homework, they have to do schoolwork, they have to have meals, you know, so whatever's left over. And the goal behind this is that they learn and begin to learn for themselves how to regulate and how to manage their own time. So get in there with that conversation with them. It's a simple one at the table someday. And, you know, just to wrap up, consider what they can play, when they can play it, how much time. I mean, you've seen Roblox and Fortnite, they kind of time out, don't they, between 0 and 20, 30 minutes. So that's pretty good. Define the time limits, where they can play it, as we've all said, you know,
Avril,
a communal area.
We lost the interpreter. Sorry to disturb.
Sorry, Suzanne is gone. Yeah,
Suzanne is not highlighted.
Suzanne, oh, okay. Thank you for highlighting that to me. 1 second there now. I will find Suzanne and I will. We got you. We have you. We have you, Suzanne. Okay, so I spotlighted you there. So, you know, defining where they can play, like a communal area, like we said, and then, you know, keeping it private and secure, safety settings, security settings, knowing where they are, finding them out where they are if you don't know where they are. And the internet is a great place for that. Understand the costs, V-Bucks, Robux, COD, money, words, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong there, I might call them COD somethings. So, you know, in every game there's in-app purchases. Okay, they are free to play, but really there is things you buy, and that's a big lure for a lot of people, not just kids. And be aware of cyber criminals, scams, hacks, multi-factor authentication and strong passwords are really, really important. That concludes our gaming session, right? When you end this webinar, you will be redirected to this website, which is our internet safety at trendmicro.com website. Please put in your email address in the comments field at the very bottom. There's a free format box. If you'd like to be put into a raffle where I raffle off every 2 weeks a security kit for Trend Micro, and there's a lot of goodies in there, including maximum security for 5 devices in the home to secure and protect your devices from malware and all of those kind of things for up to 1 year. So be sure, put your name in there in the feedback form, and we're going to pull out 5 winners, and Elaine will be in touch with you tomorrow. And while you're on the website, webinars, Absolutely. The screen time management one is my favorite one. I put it on when I'm going for a walk and I listen to Dr. Rich. He's like my guru. He's fabulous. Events page, you'll find out in 2 weeks what we're going to be talking about. And the resources is where you're going to find the top tips sheet for gaming. And these are what the top tip sheets look like. But that one is the one you're looking for right now on gaming, covering what we talked about today. And I cannot close out without plugging our What's Your Story competition. It launched on Safer Internet Day. It's for young people. We've €4,000 in cash for the winning prize, 8,000 overall. If you know anybody who likes videos, they're all on TikTok. Tell them about the competition and share this with them. A closing date is in April, a video competition. And I'm going to just launch a poll to find out what do you want us to talk about in the webinar in 2 weeks' time, okay? So what should we cover? I'm going to launch the poll there now. Launching poll. Do you want us to talk about video chat apps or social networks or privacy, cyberbullying, managing screen time, or how to spot misinformation? And whatever you dictate, you'll dictate the agenda for 2 weeks' time again. And, you know, as you can see here now, managing screen time, that is no surprise. That is the one that has hit the top. So we will be definitely covering managing the screen time in 2 weeks' time. I'll share those results with you all, just in case you think I'm making it up. So that's what we're going to be covering in 2 weeks. And I want to thank everybody who joined us through Facebook live streaming and through the Zoom webinar. And, you know, we'll be back in 2 weeks at the same Zoom webinar number and the same place on Facebook. So join us 8 o'clock every second Tuesday night, where we'll cover a topic that's important to you. The struggle is real, my friends out there, and we're all in this together. And thank you so much for your lovely feedback and the questions. I think, you know, your feedback will be really important. So please let us know. Great to see an ISL interpreter on here. Bravo. That's for you, Suzanne. So thank you very much, Suzanne. Thank you, Simon, Declan, Ruby, Callum, and Callie. We couldn't have done this tonight without you all. We'll see you soon. And, you know, for those of you on Facebook, you can also give us your feedback as well. The link is there in the comments. It's pinned up there high. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Bye.
take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Good luck.